Hi, I'm Jenna Morrow.
And I am Ruth Wicker. Welcome to Strategene, your source for authentic, curated content for digital and social media professionals.
On today's show, we'll take a look at the ethics of AI in content creation.
And today we have Whitney in our Tips and Tools segment to talk about ways to use AI as a tool.
First, to our question of the day. Since ChatGPT was created in November of 2022, how many people use it?
We'll have the answer to that question of the day later in the podcast.
Recently, I asked students around BYU Idaho campus if they had used AI in the last week and what they had used it for.
Hi everyone, I'm Jenna Morrow and I'm here with Strategene, and I'm asking BYU Idaho students if they have used AI in the last week and what they've used it for.
Have you used AI in the last week?
Yes, I have.
What did you use it for?
How to fix my mother's computer.
Good answer. Have you used AI in the last week?
No, I have not. Not that I'm aware of, actually.
Okay. Have you used AI in the last week?
Yes, I have.
What did you use it for?
I have used it to do math and also measure hours.
Have you used AI in the last week?
No, I have not.
Science is becoming increasingly more common in various industries, including digital and social media. It's vital to learn how and when to use it.
AI is changing the way that we create content, from generating ideas to streamlining production. But with all of these advancements, it is important to understand its limitations. Can AI truly replace human creativity, or is it just a tool to enhance it? Today, we'll take a closer look on how AI fits into the creative process.
One topic that has been growing rapidly over the last few years is artificial intelligence, or AI for short. At the same time, social media and content creation online is increasing as well. With AI used in many ways to help us out in our day-to-day lives, it only feels inevitable that these two will be used hand in hand. But where do we exactly draw that line? Content creation through online media is on the path to be the new way of communicating and spreading ideas to a large number of people. With all the competition and different creators, all are striving to make their way to the top and then stay on top. With apps like Jasper.ai to help get blog posts, Canva for generating images, and Cynthia to make AI-generated videos, content can fly online at high volumes. But however, is this fast-generating content worth it? Or are we better off controlling our own content creation and leaving AI behind? In fact, in 2023, a writer's strike gained attention all across the country, with one of the main factors behind this strike is the use of AI. Writers are afraid that AI is going to eventually take over the film writing process and ultimately leave thousands of employees jobless. They consider, however, AI to, quote, lack courage to write something truly human, end quote. And that might be a risk that some companies are willing to make in order to save a couple of dollars. The benefits of AI are increasing, and it makes us wonder, is it worth creating something unique and human, or should we rely on artificial intelligence and an artificial mind that can create something faster, cheaper, but just lacks that activity? That's a line that we have to consider and debate about how we should use AI, and that decision can change the whole future in content creation.
Now that we know a bit more about artificial intelligence and content creation, let's chat with an expert about what it means to digital and social media professionals.
Recently, I was able to speak with Corey Kerr, a professor here in the communications department at BYU Idaho, to get his insights on how to use AI in the content creation process.
All right, today we have Brother Kerr with us today to talk about AI in the content creation process. To start us off, how do you think AI should be used in the content creation process?
As little as possible if you have to use it at all.
All right. Do you think that AI helps or hinders the creativity process at any point?
I think it's a massive hindrance in every step of the process. So if you want to look at Thomas S. Monson said something that was recently quoted by David Bednar. He said, something along the lines of, God gave us, kept the water in the rivers, the oil in the mountains, the cities unbuilt, the trees unfelled. A major part of what we're doing here is creation, right? And anytime you shortcut that type of thing, I think you are shortcutting a good part of the experience that you're getting, right? I want the robots and the software to do the dishes and dig the dishes for me so that I can write the poetry and do the paintings. I don't want them to do the fun stuff for me, to leave me to do the grunt work. Our experience here on Earth as humans is supposed to be a creative experience. And so anytime that you shortcut that process, I think it's leaving you lacking. And there's recent studies that are starting to show that people that are using AI more are stupider. They have lower cognitive abilities. They're dampening their critical thinking and their creative thinking. And so the more that you use those crutches, the less you're using your brain, the less you're engaging with life. And so it's a massive hampering experience to kind of incorporate that into any step of the process.
Have you ever used AI?
I have used it. I've used it to just see what it does. And so, I've never used it in something fine that I've made. But I've been like, all right, they're talking about this. Let's try it out. And, I get the same thing that everybody's complaining about. I get the inaccurate hallucinations, which is a cute way of saying confidently lying. I get, the weird 6-fingered stuff. I get stuff that looks like just oddly plastic and shiny, and those types of things. So I've used it a bit, but I don't need to necessarily try cocaine to know that I don't want to use it,
Where do you think we could use AI in any part? Like, I know you say that you don't like to use it at all, but is there anything that you would recommend using it for?
Okay, so one of my problems with AI in general is there's a big hype campaign going on about it. And as a communication professional, I pay attention to the way that people are saying things. One of the problems that I have with AI is I don't know what it is, right? And so AI used to be what now people are referring to as AGI, general intelligence, right? Or human level intelligence. But then they started to change the definition of the word to mean anything that is some sort of algorithmic process or some sort of deep machine learning or some sort of large language learning model. The term itself has become so amorphous that I don't know what it means. And so if you are defining it as spell check and predictive text and stuff like that, fine, whatever, use that. I don't care. If you're talking about generative AI, where it is making things or writing things or creating things, that's where I'd stay away from it. So my issue with, should we use AI or not is I don't even know that we have a term. And whenever somebody tries to muddy the waters about what something means, they're trying to sell you something, And anytime somebody tells you something is inevitable and there's nothing that you can do about it, they're trying to placate you so that you don't stop them. And so those are two messages that I hear from AI proponents a lot. And so it makes it hard to answer a question like that because it's really hard to, when I say that, one person might be thinking predictive text, another person might be thinking chat GPT, another person might be thinking generative images and diffusion. And there's a big umbrella of what that term sort of kind of means sometimes, but not others now. So it's hard to say.
Yeah. Have you ever used the generative fill in Photoshop or anything? And do you like it?
Yeah, I've used generative fill to do some of those things. I've been using Photoshop for 25 years, and so when I go in and I do the stamp tool, you can go in and you can kind of transfer from one part to another part. And there's some of those types of smart filters that are go in and delete this telephone pole for me and those sorts of things. It's fine. Yeah, I've done that.
If you could set 3 rules for using AI, what would they be?
I think a big one is I think you should use ethically sourced AI. If you're going to use it, use ethically sourced. And there's almost nothing out there right now that is ethically sourced. And so I think I'm not one of those people that the ends justify the means. So it's like, oh, I'm doing a good thing, but I had to kill a bunch of people to do it or whatever, right? I mean, most data that was fed into these models was stolen. It's being adjudicated in court right now. They're finding huge problems from a copyright issue and those types of things. And so that would be rule number one: is if you're going to do it, do something where it was all volunteered data that was licensed by the creators voluntarily to put into the model, right? Another one would be, I would hesitate to shortcut any part of the process that you struggle with, because struggle is valuable, right? Now, if that struggle is a repetitive thing, so for example, we used to have to select things with like the polygonal lasso tool, and now we can go in and we can go to the select menu and we can say select subject, and it gets a pretty decent selection to get us started in Photoshop. Some people would call that AI. I don't know that there's a lot of like creative value or intrinsic value in doing it the hard way just to do it the hard way. So something like that is fine, right? But I would take a deep look at what you are getting and out of it, and I would make sure that you're not shortcutting part of the process that is going to help you learn, help you grow, help you become better. And so that would be one. And then the third thing is, I would always consider the effect of you using AI on the brand that you're doing. So, for example, Wacom, they make drawing tablets, and they, all of their customer base are illustrators and photographers and artists, right? And they accidentally used a stock image that was created with AI in one of their advertisements. So they're kind of under the gun with a deadline. And so they grabbed something off of Adobe stock, which was mislabeled. It said that it wasn't created with AI, but it was. And people freaked out. It was a huge destruction and betrayal of their audience. And so the third thing is, I would say you need to consider the market impact of whether you should do that or not. Some people don't care, right? I mean, if you're doing something for a bunch of crypto, types of things or whatever, they probably don't give a crap whether it was made by a person or made by AI, right? But if you're going to certain markets, and people care deeply about like the process and how it was made and those types of things, I would really second guess using any type of AI in your process at all. And so those would be kind of the top three off the top of my head of what I would do. Is what's it going to do to you if you use it? What's it going to do to the creative process? And then what's it going to do to your audience?
Our tip and tool for this week is directly related to our topic of discussion. Whitney is going to be discussing with us some tricks and tools to use AI to maximize its potential without taking away our creativity.
Since ChatGPT was released to the public in 2022, there's been much dialogue about how OpenAI should or should not be used, specifically within creative fields and social media. So the question now is, how can we use AI as an effective and productive social media tool? Let's talk about 3 ways that we can accomplish this. First, understand that one of the goals of AI in social media marketing is to automate and streamline tasks such as data analysis, customer segmentation, and determining what type of content keeps users engaged. Apps such as FeedHive, Buffer, Flick, and Pratus.ai are apps that use AI and will do this type of work for you. For example, on Buffer, it uses AI that will tailor your posts for specific social media platforms. Each platform has unique rules of engagement, and Buffer will streamline that process by helping to adapt your content as needed, allowing you greater reach and connectivity across platforms. Second, utilize AI tools on platforms such as Canva and Adobe. If you go to Adobe's website, they have an extensive list of all their AI features for both creativity and design and marketing. Adobe's Mix Modeler uses AI to measure your data insights and provides a marketing plan with the greatest ROI, allowing you to evaluate the effectiveness of your paid, owned, and earned marketing channels. Finally, understand that AI will never be able to do the work that you can do. AI has a lot of potential, but it's still early in the process. Many companies and apps will claim that their AI can do it all, but in the end, they'll promise a lot and deliver perhaps very little. AI can be a great tool for gathering and analyzing data, especially for social media, but don't let AI do your part. For Stratazine, I'm Whitney Libbert.
Back to the question of the day, how many people have used ChatGPT since it was created?
The answer is ChatGPT has 400 million weekly active users worldwide. 67.7 million of those users are in the United States, and around 10 million are paying subscribers.
That's all for this episode of Stratazine. Coming up in our next episode, the topic will be about branding yourself.
Thank you for joining us today on Stratazine.
You can find the links and attributions to everything from today's podcast in the credits and the show notes. Have a great day.